Hey guys, it's your girl Kiera Rose. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about being a fatherless daughter. Just growing up without your biological father and not having a father in your life. So I just want to go ahead and just touch on a few things. The emotional side of things, the things we question as to why our fathers were not around. And so I just want to touch on that, and I just want to encourage women around and even men. I just want to say a few encouraging words to just let everyone know and let people know that, it's okay. So before we do get started, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to my channel if you're new to my channel. Go ahead and click the notification bell so you're notified every time I do post a new video. So aside from that, let's just get into it. So again, today, like I stated, I do want to talk about just growing up without a father in my life, without my biological father in my life. Before I do get started, I do want to let people know that I did have a dad. My mom did remarry, and she married a man that took on that responsibility of raising me and my sister. So I do want to let people know that I did have a father figure in my life, but at the same time, not knowing your biological father and not having him around, at times that does take a toll on you emotionally, and you question a lot in your life, and you question who you are in life. You battle with the identity of not knowing that other side of you and not knowing who your father is as far as the type of person that he was. I knew who my father was, but he was never really in my life. So I do want to just brush on a few things as far as my life and my past, as far as not having my father in my life. My mother actually did marry my father. The last time I can remember my father actually being in the household, I was probably about 3 years old. So at 3 years old, my father became non-existent in a sense. He was in and out of my life pretty much my whole life. He wasn't a consistent father. When he did show up in my life, it was never for a long amount of time, a long period of time. My father was the type of father that would just show up on my birthday. Like, majority of the time when I see my father, it was for my birthday, and it was either I was getting toys or I was receiving money. It was never necessarily time. At times I would be with my father on my birthdays, but like I said, it never lasted long. So again, my father was in and out of my life pretty much until I was, I would say, 20 or 21 years old. So like I said, at 3 years old, my father was no longer in the house. I don't know when I was younger if I really ever seen my father a lot. I know in my teenage years, I think the last time I had seen my father was at 16. And later on down the line, I think I seen him again when I was, I want to say, either 20 or 21. After that, I haven't seen my father. I haven't spoken to my father. I don't know where he is. I know he's still in the city of Akron. He's still in my hometown, but I don't know where he is or what he's doing. So like I said, he was very inconsistent in being around, and at times I did question myself. At times I did question my worth. At times I asked myself, why wasn't I really good enough to have a father in my life, to have my biological father in my life. There were times when I would look at other people's families, and I would look at the daddy and daughter relationship that other women had. Like every little girl, daddy's little girl. And I would always question why my relationship with my biological father was never that. And why my father could never be around, or why he never was that father that I needed in life. So I always questioned who I was. I always questioned that side of me, that part of me, because aside from me not having my father in my life, I pretty much was never connected to that side of my family at all. I pretty much didn't have a relationship with anyone on my father's side. I didn't have a relationship with my grandmother, with my aunts, with my uncles, with my cousins. And so I don't have a relationship with anyone on my father's side. And so that kind of took a toll on me in life, to know that you don't know anyone. You don't know that side. You know who your father is, but you don't really know who your father is. And so I questioned that. I questioned my identity, because I never knew that side. So it's hard to know who you are when you don't know where you come from. So again, like I said, the emotional tolls that it took on me, not necessarily knowing why he couldn't be around or why he chose not to be in my life. Wondering why I wasn't good enough. I went through a period in time when I questioned why I was never good enough for you to be in my life. Why was I never good enough for you to just try to be that father that you could have been? And so, like I said, it was very non-existent in a sense. I could probably count several times how many times I've seen my father. So it pretty much was not a relationship. I didn't have a relationship with my father. I don't know who he is. Like I said, I know who he is. I know the man, but I don't know who he really is. And in times that I struggle with really knowing who I am, because I know that's a side of me. I mean, at the end of the day, that's my blood. And so some of the things that I do, some of the characteristics that I have, some of the thoughts that I have, the way I think, the way I'm wired, some of that comes from him. And so sometimes it's hard to deal with the fact that you don't really know that side, and you struggle with really knowing who you really are as a woman. Because like I said, my wiring comes from two people, my mother and my father. And that side, I don't know. And so, again, like I said, it took a toll on my life at times. I questioned myself, but just getting older and just being more mature and just being more knowledgeable of the world and just how everything is, I'm pretty content now with the fact that my father wasn't in my life. I'm okay with that, because I've come to realize that my father just didn't know how to be there. And at the end of the day, that's okay. I'm fine with knowing that, he just didn't know how to. He didn't know how to be a father in my life. He didn't know how to be that to me. He didn't have the capacity for me. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm content with that. I just realized over time that he may not have ever known how to be there. He may not have ever known how to be a father. And, you can't really be there for someone or be something to someone if you don't know how to. So, I'll never take away anything from my father. I'll never take that from him. He is my father. He is my blood. He's the one that helped make me. So I'll never take that from him. He is my father. I just come to realize, and I've come to the conclusion that he just didn't know how to be there. He couldn't give me what I needed. He couldn't give me what he didn't have to give. And that's okay. And so, like I said, I don't hold anything against my father, and I don't take away from the fact that he made me. I love my father. That is my blood. And so I will never run around here and be bitter about it, or be upset about it, or just live a life of excuses, or live a life of sadness, or just wondering, because it is what it is. I've grown to be a very intelligent woman, a very wise woman, a very positive woman, and I know that some of that stems from my father. So Because if I'm the type of person that I am, and I know it took two to create, to make me, then I know some of that trickled down to me, and I know some of the things, some of my characteristics, some of my thoughts, the way I think, the way I am, that comes from him. And so, like I said, I'll never take that away from him. Again, I love my father. I just, at times, questioned why and how could you, and I just come to believe that he just didn't know how to. He didn't know how to be there. He didn't know how to give me what I needed. He couldn't give me something that he didn't have to give, regardless of, because a lot of people say, well, you're supposed to be there in your child's life, and how can you have a child out here and you don't take care of them, or you're not there? But we don't know what they go through in life. We don't know what our fathers experience in life that shaped them into the men that they are. And so I don't hold that against my father, because in his life he may have gone through things that allowed him to not have the capacity to raise a daughter, to be in my life. He just simply didn't have it in him to be the father that I needed him to be. And so I'm okay with that. Because like I said, I'm a better woman. I'm strong. I'm intelligent. I'm capable of doing all things in my life that God has intended for me to do. And so I don't hold him accountable for my experiences in life. I don't make excuses for why I went through certain things in life. I don't make excuses of, I didn't have my father, so I didn't know which way to go. I don't make excuses for that. And so I just have realized that, it is what it is. And sometimes we do question that. We question ourselves, and we feel like we're not worthy, and we question why our fathers went around. And sometimes we make excuses, or we blame the fact that we didn't have our father on certain things that we went through. And I'm not, taking that away from anyone, because some experiences you've had in life may have been because you didn't have your father. But as far as me personally, I just don't hold that against him, and I don't make excuses for why my life was how it was. And at the same time, we question why our fathers weren't in our lives, but we never question the fact of, well, what type of father would they have even been, had they even been in our lives? And so we don't know. Only God knows what type of father they would even have been, had they been there. For all we know, they could have been, in our lives and still didn't raise us right, or didn't have anything to teach us. So sometimes, and I'm not taking away from anyone who may have gone through certain things and they know that's solely why, it's because they didn't have a father. I'm just saying that sometimes we don't know what type of fathers they will be, or what type of fathers they would have been if they were in our lives. And so I know I'm a firm believer of God, and he doesn't make any mistakes. So, we're still here. We're still strong beings. We still have the ability to rise and be everything that he's called us to be. And although we did experience that pain and that hurt and that abandonment at an early age in life, and it somewhat shaped our outlook on life and our views, that's not to say that that's going to stop us from rising up and doing whatever it is we were called to do in life. And I just want to say that, again, like I said, I love my father, and I forgive my father. I forgive my father for not being there. I forgive him for not choosing to be in my life. I forgive him for just not knowing how to be there. And so I'm content with it. I'm fine with it. I'm okay now with it. It's not something I struggle with anymore. The more I grow in Christ, I begin to know who I am. And so I don't question my identity anymore, as far as not having my father around and not knowing who he truly is. So I don't question that anymore. I don't struggle with my identity anymore. And so I'm okay with that. I'm okay with my life. I'm content with how everything happened, and the fact that I didn't have him around. I'm fine with that, and I'm okay. And I just want to encourage those around, encourage women around that, didn't grow up with their fathers, didn't have their fathers in their lives. And I just want to encourage women and just allow them to know that it was never you, and you were worthy. It was just the simple fact that they didn't know how to be there. And so don't ever feel like you were a burden, or that you weren't good enough. Because I'm here to tell you that you are good enough. And you were good enough. They just didn't know how to be there. They just didn't have the capacity to love you how you were supposed to be loved, or be there how they were supposed to be there. And so I just encourage women out there who grew up without a father to know that you are worthy, and you always were. And don't ever let that determine who you are in life. And don't ever let that stop you from becoming who you were always supposed to be in life. And so I just encourage every woman out there to allow them to know that you're okay, you're beautiful, and you will become everything that you were supposed to become in this life. And it doesn't matter if you didn't have your father. It doesn't matter if he didn't want to be there. It doesn't matter if he chose not to be there. You are who you are, and you will be great in this world, and you will matter in this world. And so I just want to let everyone know that it is what it is. Although we may not have had our fathers, we will still become the women that we were always supposed to become. I want to thank you all. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys later. As always, God bless.